If this movie doesn't make money, it reinforces a stereotype in Hollywood that men don't go see women do action movies. This was a tweet sent out by Elizabeth Banks concerning the flop of Charlie's Angels. Is this still a stigma within the entertainment industry that women can't lead major movies, television, or video games? Here at the Punk Rock Horror Podcast, we disagree with this statement. In honor of Women in Horror Month, we will be diving back into one of our earliest topics and discussing all of those badass women that put horror on the map. So whether it's Pamela Voorhees or Laurie Strode, we will be screaming in the shower, scare the establishment, here tonight on the Punk Rock Horror Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Punk Rock Horror Podcast. I'm the Undead Matt.
I'm Cody.
Today, we're here to remind you that Pipples are not a violent breed, and god damn it, our stupid fucking mayor is deciding to veto that shit.
Yeah, the one bill. The one he's ever vetoed his entire life. Is the one thing that could bring literally everyone happiness.
See, and everybody gives me a hard time when I make fun of his last name, and I'm like, no, because he does stupid shit like this. That's why I call him Hick and Pooper.
He is Hick and Pooper.
Like, because he just shits on over everything.
Like, jeez, man, come on.
It is the absolute worst. It drives me absolutely... Like, and it's just so mad, because there's still people that fully believe that Pipples are a violent breed, and that you can't change them. And it's just, no, that's a behavior that is learned. That's a behavior that can be learned and taught in a horrible manner to any animal. It doesn't even have to be a dog. It could even be a cat. It could be even a farm animal, for God's sakes. You remember those crazy...
People! Even people!
Exactly.
Most abusive parents come from abusive households. They learn that. So you know what happens when you teach a puppy to be nice and friendly, no matter how Hulk it is? It's going to be friendly and nice, and it's going to suck on a binky like that adorable pit bull that you see in that video.
Now, being a Denver-owned podcast, obviously, our notoriety is somewhere in the middle. So, that being said, I'm not really too worried about us getting in trouble with this. All I think is just that Mayor Hickenlooper is a kind of a ditz and an asshole for it.
Free speech.
Yeah. That being said, if me calling him an idiot for wanting to veto a bill on animals is too far, then I apologize. This show is definitely not for you, because we go into a lot.
I don't apologize. If you really think that us saying it's bullshit to be friendly to animals,
I more so am sorry, because they're not going to be able to have our voices grace their ears.
Oh, good. Well, I don't want our voices to grace their ears.
Yeah,
they're not the good.
We're better than everyone. But no, seriously, go fuck yourself, Mayor Hickenlooper.
So, trying really hard to be nice and sweet and not laugh out loud, even though she's actually allowed to now.
Yeah, so hold on, let me do it.
Can.
Let me do it.
I know, I just wanted to call her out.
So, in honor of Women of Horror Month, we are deciding to dive back into the topic of women in horror and talk about not just our love of it, but what Cody already said in the cold open, going against what Elizabeth Banks so poorly said.
Which sucks, because she's such a horror gem.
She's in Slither.
I know. She got her start, and she's in Slither. She's in Brightburn. Not every horror movie I've seen her in, almost every movie I've seen her in, and she's just so great. But then she just stuff like that comes out. I'm like, come on.
So, all biases aside, I decided what might be a good idea is to bring someone on the podcast who can actually talk about what it's like not really being into horror or being a big horror fan, but getting more into it and getting the perspective. And since it's about women in horror, I decided to bring on my lovely wife, Lauren, to join us today to talk about this subject.
You keep saying you brought her on. It's fine. I'm just, I'm
Cody
just
too. You said yes.
No, it's fine.
You said yes.
It was like you.
You said yes.
That's why I'm Cody, just Cody.
But welcome.
Hi, now I can speak. See, he told me to wait until he introduced me first.
It's wait to jump in with jokes. You can laugh out loud. You're on the podcast.
He told me to wait.
It's lost in communication.
I waited, Cody.
Okay. I waited.
I just needed a few minutes of peace and silence. Okay.
This is why I'm glad I get to drive home tonight.
What?
Can I talk?
No. Oh, I thought you said TED Talk. I thought you said TED Talk.
Lauren, we're live. You can talk.
Yay.
I thought you said TED. I'm sorry.
Finally out of the basement. Thank you for bringing me on.
I'm finally not chained in front of the stove anymore.
It's a good stove. Not a monster. The stove was made in 2019. God. I keep them upgraded. It's getting worse.
Anyways, so we're going back to that tweet. The tweet that said that men don't go see female-led action movies. So I know we're a horror podcast, but the stats that I'm going to pull out right now real fast are more along the lines of more just action movies, just because it was easier to find.
Before we do that, though, we do have a small listener
listener participation.
It is really, really small. So
I was like, I want to go because I'm excited to talk about this because it's so great.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we did not get a lot of people commenting on it. So, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just hate everyone, but it's okay. No. No, really, though. So, over on Twitter, we only got one from Brooke Reading Podcast, at Brooke Reading Pod. She replied with a gif of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers knitting.
Nice.
So, Laurie Strode is a solid pick, obviously, but over on the Facebook, which I can get if
you'll have to pull that. Oh, wait.
Do you got it?
Sorry, I forgot to grab it on my laptop.
No, that's cool. So, from Zach over on our Facebook, I have two. Jamie Lee Curtis, Till the End of Time. From the first Halloween, she has been able to stand toe-to-toe with evil itself. Mm-hmm. What's amazing is even in two different continuities, she has been able to grow and become even more of a badass. And a very close second would be Adrienne Barbeau. Or Babu. I always have a hard time saying her last name. The intense star of a radio host who can fight off pirate ghosts on top of a radio/lighthouse tower is courtesy of The Fog and her badassery. And then from our own Paranormal Princess, who unfortunately could not be here today to talk about this subject, did send in hers, saying, Lynn Shay, she makes every movie she's in better. Her character in the Insidious movies is my favorite. She's such a great actress and is different than the half-naked token horror movie girls. I love them too, but it's also nice to see an actress whose acting carries their career. Sorry, it was like too. What is it? The words were too close sounding alike.
Yeah.
So
I know what you mean.
But yeah, that is over what we got from you guys. It was kind of like a last-minute listener participation, too. It's definitely more so a fault on our end.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But before we jump into the topic, we also still got things that are going on in horror for this week.
Yes, we do. Oh, yeah. Dude, I jumped the gun. Jesus Christ.
No, I can just tell you're really excited about it. Don't even worry about it.
I skipped 2 whole segments.
So,
I know.
Unfortunately, we got some somber news to end on today, but we'll start off with some good things. So, the latest in Remedy Entertainment financial report has revealed that a new project is in development. While no specifics mention of an Alan Wake game, which had, nothing is said yet to this effect, one of the titles, Alan Wake, was surprisingly the other main contributor to Remedy's revenue last year. So, they have announced that one of the games in development is a single-player component to Smilegate's FPS Crossfire X, which is heading to Xbox One later this year. And then also the other is Vanguard, Remedy's own attempt at the game as a service genre, which will combine long-term service-based multiplayer experience with some Remedy's unique game features, which leaves the final game, which despite one of Remedy's own brands, is being kept under wraps as proceeding well. Of course, everyone is jumping to believe that this is another Alan Wake game and the popular cult installment, since one of Control's upcoming 2 paid expansions appears to put Control, the game I'm talking about, in the same universe as Alan Wake.
Dude, Control, holy shit, I'm so excited to play that game.
So, with that being said,
which is a female-led action movie. Well, action game.
Well, we can definitely hope that there's going to be another Alan Wake.
I do hope for that.
They're definitely...
Don't do the Alone in the Dark section of it.
Yeah.
Like, don't take it how Alone in the Dark did with its reboot for Alan Wake, because it was kind of similar with the character and the whole light being stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, don't try and be edgy with it. Just have it be the B-movie thriller, Stephen King thriller it is.
Basically, don't ruin this.
Yes, please.
So, with that, also, horror film Honeydew will mark the feature debut of Steven Spielberg's one and only son. Well, I shouldn't say one and only son because I don't know for the fact, but his son, Sawyer Spielberg. So, yeah, Spielberg is coming to direct under the whole name of Spielberg, but he's going to be doing his own horror movie. So, Yellow Veil Pictures has acquired worldwide sales rights on Honeydew, THR, first reported today, with the film set to begin pre-sales this month at the European film market. So Honeydew is described as a feverish horror film set in rural New England. Strange cravings and hallucinations befall a young couple after seeking shelter in the home of an aging farmer and her peculiar son. Yellow Veil Pictures co-founder Justin Sims said in a statement, "We are thrilled to introduce Devereaux Milbourne's vision to the market at this year's EFM. With shades of De Palma's frenetic editing and sound design brought into a modern context, Honeydew immerses you in a nightmare that is sure to satisfy all cravings for a fresh, stylish backwoods horror." So, really interesting. You know, we got one Spielberg who's basically made his name off of sci-fi films for the most part. And then you also have now the other one coming in on the end of horror.
Yeah.
So, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I would definitely say there's a lot of pressure with knowing who your dad is in this case.
Yeah, especially Steven Spielberg.
Never heard of the guy. On to other news, Alex Aha traps Noomi Rapace in contained thriller 2. Prometheus star Noomi Rapace, who was also just attached to the revenge thriller The Thicket as a violent killer, will star in a Alex Aha produced thriller O2, which will re-team the French filmmaker with P2, Amityville: The Awakening, and Maniac director Frank Colfoun. The pic centers on a woman who wakes up in a cryogenic medical pod alone with no memory and no way out. All she knows is that she has 90 minutes of oxygen left and must figure out how to save herself while discovering who she really is, who put her there, and most important, why.
I feel like it's a game.
So
I'm excited about that.
That's the premise of a lot of movies. That's also like the premise of like Pandoran too.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm a little nervous about that front because it doesn't sound anything different. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm open to see how this goes. So in Megan Fox news and horror, which I never thought was things that we're going to be talking about ever again.
Okay, I like Megan Fox in horror movies.
Oh,
I like Jennifer's Body was good.
I hated Jennifer's Body.
Really, what? I thought I was gonna hate it, but I think the fact that the fact that she knew she was such a sex icon and she owned it that movie. Like you could tell she took herself. Like we know when she has those like cocky, sexy attitudes, what you see on TMZ and stuff like that. I think she like just watched herself on TMZ or whatever. It was like, all right, now I'm going to dial that to 11 and then just eat his fucking face. And like,
I don't know, man. I think I saw it when it came out in theaters. And I'll be honest, mine's probably a little biased as the reasons why I don't love it, more so for the fact as just that I was really irritated that like everybody was talking about Jennifer's body, or not, I mean Megan Fox's body and Megan Fox in general, and just like, oh my god, she's the hottest thing ever. And everywhere I went, everybody was talking about her, and it made me hate her so fast because no one would talk about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. Especially Michael around that time.
Oh yeah, our friend Michael. He's like, I would bend her over this and that and this.
So
I would bend her over the circumference of the moon. Like, okay, Michael. God. But no, so Megan Fox, who starred in the criminally underrated Jennifer's Body, returns to horror in Till Death. Till Death tells the story of Emma, who is played by Megan Fox, who is left handcuffed to her dead husband as part of a sickening revenge plot and must survive 2 hired killers on their way to finish the job. Jason Carvey wrote the Bloodless screenplay, and David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, Aquaman The Conjuring 2, and their upcoming sequels, will produce alongside Tanner Mobley, Les Weldon, Yariv Lerner, and Rob Van Norden for Millennium Media. Executive producers are also on the project as Avi Lerner, Trevor Short, Boaz Davidson, Jeffrey Greenstein, and Jonathan Younger of Millennium Media. So production is scheduled to begin this March in Bulgaria. So it's going to be a minute till we see this thing. I'm not going to expect it till probably even next year. Mm-hmm. So So fans of Jennifer's Body, if you're wanting to see Megan Fox in another horror film, keep your eyes peeled because it is coming.
I'm excited.
So I'll be excited about that. I'll watch it. Like I said, I liked her in horror movies. Like I think when she knows who she is and like what she's seen as and just owns it, I think Megan Fox is a little bit better of an actress. Like in New Girl, she knew who she was and she acted exactly like that. And I was like, all right, Megan, all right.
She knows what she's working with.
I'd like you as an actress more.
But it's only fitting that last episode we talking about what's happening in horror. We talked about where Linda Hamilton was with the Terminator franchise.
Yep.
And in a more ironic kind of sense, Robert Englund has actually come out and says that he probably won't be playing Freddy again. Quoted in saying, "I don't think I'll ever don the makeup again." England flat out told the press. He continued on saying, "I'm a little too old for that. I'm a little long in the tooth to play Freddy now. I think if I was doing it, I'd be more like Freddy versus Viagra." He did continue on to say, "But I have no idea whether they're going to go on and create completely new stories or whether they are going to go back and do prequels of origin stories on the Freddy Krueger myth. I don't know what they're up to, so I'm just waiting to hear." So right now, basically, Freddy Krueger, his last hurrah as the character was on the Goldbergs when he made that cameo.
Yeah.
And other than that, it does not look like he has any interest whatsoever.
Well, no, he has interest. He's flat out said
it's
he
more
would
so,
do one more
it's the
film.
age. It's the whole age.
He said he has enough.
He's a little up there.
Like, he said he'd be willing to do... He has enough to do maybe one more, but that's if it happens the next, couple years. And from the looks of just like, we keep hearing Nightmare on Elm Street's coming back next year. We keep hearing that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think we're going to see another actual Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th until after the Halloween franchise is done. Just because that's doing so well. And I know everyone's pining for those other ones, but it's like... I don't know. I think just because Halloween didn't go on the whole corny side like the other two did, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, it's easier to keep the Halloween franchise going.
That, and how many more times can you tell the same story of Jason Voorhees coming back to life to kill teenagers?
Yeah.
And give new life to that.
And same with Freddy. Like, Freddy, that's why I find funny, Nightmare on Elm Street has such more to, like, open up about Freddy just because he is a talking character.
I think we just need another Freddy versus Jason 2.
I think we need Freddy versus Michael versus Jason.
Versus Ghostface versus Ash.
Yeah, just have them all in there. We just need the giant conglomerate.
The Royal Rumble of horror icons.
or what we need is just like all of them sitting in a bar. Kind of like, Villain Pub on YouTube. But instead, it's just all horror guys.
Just like Leatherface walks in and he trips because he's a little drunk.
Yeah, there was like, and everybody kills your name.
And just like bumps into like Jason Voorhees.
Me of, like the YouTube videos. I don't know if you guys see them where it's like, I'll kill you that way.
Oh, I can't remember. I might have.
It's on YouTube and it's so great. It's so good. They do like Jason Voorhees in there. They do Leatherface.
Oh, nice.
And he's like, I got friends.
I have friends. Yeah, I saw that music video, the country one. With Leatherface. He's like, I have my friends and I like to wear their faces.
He's swinging his chainsaw around and he kills everybody. It's so great.
Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, we are diving into today's subject of what's going on in horror. So we kind of already introduced it with our LPC asking, what is your favorite woman in horror? Blah, blah, blah. What is your favorite female lead in a horror film and why? Yeah. And so we already kind of went over that and we just kind of want to get out of the way. We already did it, so on and so forth. With that being said, let us jump into today's meat of the episode. Cody?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, as I said, pretty much what Elizabeth Banks was saying in her tweet was saying, like, female-led action movies. She specifically said action, but that kind of bleeds into all the different genres. Of just like, we don't want to see strong female characters is kind of the sense of like men don't want to see that. It's like, no, yes we do. We would love to. We want to go. I just want to see one with a good premise or a good movie, So I decided to bring up because it was she said that because it was a flop. I decided to look up some movies that horror and non-horror that had a strong female lead that did great, action movies that did great. Like The Hunger Games. led by Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
It had a worldwide gross of $649 million and a domestic of $408 million. And that was back in 2012. That's a good chunk of money.
Yeah. It's a good movie, too.
And then there's even Gravity with Sandra Bullock. It was just Sandra Bullock being a badass and learning how to survive. Like, if that doesn't inspire you, male or female, I don't know what does. And that didn't even have that much marketing. I don't remember seeing any marketing for it.
I didn't even see
it definitely came
either.
out like right on the tail end of when what was that movie called with Matthew McConaughey? Interstellar.
Yeah, but that was still a female-led movie, and while it didn't do great here, it was $274 million. It did fantastic worldwide, $723 million. And then I'm gonna actually go over so I can transition into the other thing. Alien, back in 1979. While it didn't have a great opening weekend, its production budget was $10 million. Out throughout its entire tenure, ended up making over $80 million, and it made domestic and over $203 million worldwide in 1979 money. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of scratch.
So wait, how much did it make again?
So, in 1979, domestically, the first Alien made $80 million. Sorry, just over $80 million.
I gotta find.
You want to do the transition rate? The budget was $10 million.
Oh my god! So yeah,
so it had a 70%.
Yeah, it like went above and beyond with like how much they made.
With domestically and then worldwide again, that's $203 million. Like back in 1979, so people have wanted to see strong female characters as long as it's a good movie.
Yeah, like
I agree, yeah.
It's kind of the same reason that like, what's his name? People liked Rambo when he came out. Yeah, because Rambo came out and started out on a good story. Like the first one was a good story about a guy dealing with PTSD, so on and so forth, fighting in the war, yada yada yada. And then that's what really drove people. People ended up liking Rambo because of that. Same thing with Rocky. Now, if we take it back over to Alien, everybody started falling in love with Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver.
Weaver and what she did for that role, and it put her on the map.
And you know what? And she did have like that one quote unquote sexy scene where she was just in her underwear, and she was moving around. And you could see like the top of her butt, and it was like, oh, so scandalous. Yeah. It's like there was that. That's it. That's the only sexy scene you see her in the entire franchise that she's in. She's a badass. She beats the fuck out of aliens, you know?
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to do it all scantily clad, and I'm still like, what are you doing later? You know? You can see that. Like,
I like how you killed them aliens.
Because she's attractive because she's badass. And she's also really pretty. Like, you don't have to be, like, that's one thing that I liked about Alien also, like, for her to be such a strong, beautiful, and just badass woman. And that was back in 1979, like I said. And even in, like, more modern, the Halloween remake. 1 second. Load up. Oh my god. And I can't find that one. But anyways, the Halloween remake, it made a lot. It also generated. Oh yeah, it's over here. Oh no, I didn't get the money for the new Halloween remake, but the Halloween remake scored oh my god, I'm jumping ahead. I'm not even on scores yet. I'm not doing scores.
Down.
It's okay.
I was trying to find the remake's box office, and I actually have the first one. So the first Halloween, it grossed $47 million stateside, and it made $70 million worldwide on a budget of $325,000.
Wow.
Like, that's it. And then they made all that again in fucking 1970s money. 1978 is when it came out.
Wow.
Right.
And so 80s money, that's a lot of fucking money, and that's a female-led. Laurie Strode, that created Jamie Lee Curtis's film career, made her into a scream queen, made her into an icon. Yeah, Michael Myers, everyone loves Michael Myers, but like unlike Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, Laurie Strode was consistent through all of it. While Nightmare on Elm Street had Nancy, Okay, this is an old movie series, so she's often like in the third one. She's gone, so Nancy's not even a part of it anymore for the next several. Even though I know she's tied into it, I'm just saying like.
Well, and we addressed what the third one was all about, anyways. The third one was definitely just like
trying to pass on the torch, and she was also badass.
Well, no, because Halloween wasn't meant to be focused on.
Oh, Halloween! Myers. Sorry, I was talking. Yeah. Going back to Halloween. Yeah. So 3, Laurie Strode wasn't in 3. I think 4 and 5, but that was because 3 was supposed to be, they were trying to turn Halloween into an anthology instead. But then you have 4 and 5, but you still had the creatings of a cool female character in Michael Myers' niece. Mm-hmm. She was struggling with the whole dark side, light side of like, am I going to be a killer like my uncle? Or am I going to be good? Yeah. like the Strodes.
Like the Strodes.
I think another one, too, is the main female lead in Hellraiser, the first one.
Yeah, and...
that was really good.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up Hellraiser.
Yay.
So, speaking of Hellraiser, it's a good, and it's also kind of a sad thing for, like, female pushes with Hellraiser. So, Hellraiser originally, you have the badass teenager, and you also have the badass villain of the woman. She was vindictive. She was horrid throughout that whole movie,
Yeah. To be clear, we're not talking about the Cenobite. We're talking about the antagonist that was in the real world.
Yeah. I don't know her name, but it's the human woman in it.
It was the woman that.
Her mom or stepmom.
Stepmom.
Her stepmom is the real antagonist.
Yeah.
And she was actually supposed to be the real antagonist of the entire Hellraiser franchise.
God, she sucked.
Yeah.
She sucked.
That's why she came back in the second one. She was actually going to be continuing, but everyone loved Hellraiser so much. The monster, the female villain, got pushed aside, but you still had like her being just that crazy and monstrous.
That's great.
And Clive Barker is just so fantastic with that whole entire lore. After 3, I know it definitely kind of weighs off a little bit, and I'm definitely waiting for it to come back. And
it'll
be
get there.
The franchise that it is, and that makes it amazing. But one can only hope. Right now, I still can't get over that most previous one where they're like eating the dude's vomit.
Oh
yeah!
Don't.
And then to talk about a more modern movie that wasn't really a box office hit, but still made a great with a fantastic female lead that me and Matt actually, this was like really significant for us, was Ready or Not.
Samara Weaving.
Came out, the budget was only $6 million, and it still came out on $57 million. It had made a budget of made a profit of $57 million.
Well, but she made that movie. Samara made that whole movie.
Is that the one where they like hunt the
new bride? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to see that.
Yeah. So we have Samara Weaving, who's now our modern scream queen, who's like showing that you can be a badass as a protagonist and an antagonist, and with the babysitter.
Yeah.
She was amazing in that.
She was a great villain.
Yeah.
She was a complex villain.
Yeah, she was a complex villain, and also because in that one she again used her sexuality to her benefit, but she was also really, really smart.
Right. She's been in a versatile role for each horror film she's been in. Like even in Mayhem, she was actually in the role that went against the typecast of what we would expect from
even the typecast of a sidekick.
Yeah, of like a blonde woman being in this type of movie, because it definitely focused it on I have to find his name, but it focused it on the guy the most time.
Yeah.
But really we kind of had this like secondary, I don't even want to say secondary, but like the girl that it was also focused on, who was played by Samara Weaving.
Yeah.
And, just like, again, it's still my favorite scene of when he's just like wakes up and she's just like listening to like this blaring death
metal and just getting all heavy into it.
And just like, she's just like, what did you expect I would listen to? Kind of like dialogue. Like, you think I'd listen to some of that poppy bullshit?
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah. Like, that made me so happy, because that totally is all, and just the rest of the movie too. She like really taps into that, like, craze, because her whole motivation is to help her dad keep his house.
Yeah.
And so like she's willing to go through whatever it takes, and it's just like, obviously the other half of it is that she's just mad because of the disease.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like she's going in and just fucking people up in that entire movie, and it's just like she has a very thin frame, and I've always seen these type of actresses put in that type of role that they can't really help themselves or they're fragile, something to that effect. And when you actually see that, oh no, they're not fragile, like they know what they're doing, like here she comes with this nail gun and just like wailing in people's heads.
Yeah.
Like you're just kind of like you're really impressed by it. And it is just relieving. Steve Yeun did Derek Cho. That was the guy's name in Mayhem. Sorry.
Well, I think another one that's really good is the one that actually me and Matt watched, and it's called Revenge.
Revenge is a fantastic film.
That movie was amazing, and it made me cringe so hard when she falls off the cliff, and it's just like...
It definitely has scenes of rape in it, so just kind of disclaimer. With that, if you do want to check it out, it's based off these talks alone.
And I Spit on Your Grave as well. I never seen the original one, but I've seen the new one.
But Matilda Anna Ingrid Lutz is the one who does she's the protagonist. She's the actress as Jen. But like, there's a scene where like she falls off a cliff and gets impaled by a broken tree at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And so like she pulls herself up from being impaled, which like I will argue shouldn't have happened, but I was already invested at the point that came up.
Yeah.
And then she takes peyote, doesn't she? And she's just like tripping out in the cave.
Yeah, she actually takes peyote.
And then it was just such a good movie. I think like men, like I agree with you, Cody. Like men want to see more women in horror film because it's something so attractive. Is a woman or women surviving? Because it's just like I don't know how to describe it.
Well, when it comes to so in my opinion, what it really comes down to it, like why I got like in my personal opinion, why I like seeing a strong female in a movie and everything, especially in horror movies, it's more along the lines of like she can take care of herself.
Yeah, that's
it. That's all it is. She can take care of herself.
She's independent and she can take care of herself. Yeah, that's totally.
She knows how to do it.
Well, and if we really take apart a horror movie, traditional media, traditional movies, I always say like Die Hard, but I feel like Die Hard's always a really good example. So Die Hard, follows John McClane, and we're introduced to the macho man who kind of saves the girl he loves' life, and the girl he loves is basically helpless, or at least portrayed that way. And then
because she's a hostage. With a gun in her face, so kind of don't blame her.
No, I'm just saying, though.
I'd be the same. I'd be like, save me, John. Save me, Mr. McClane. Hans is here. Hans Gruber.
But if we look at horror
he might know some magic.
But if we take apart the horror film, like horror films are supposed to take away a sense of security to make you feel vulnerable. And the sense of security that we get in these type of movies that are similar to it are the male role being somehow the hero, saying like, oh, it's okay, he's alive.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to somehow save her. And so, for it to be a good horror movie, they have to take away that. So they have to either take away him being a macho man somehow, or kill him off, or make him be, codependent on the female. And so at this point, we see the woman lead coming more to the forefront of being the badass, being the hero that saves everyone, because they have to defeat the evil somehow.
Yeah.
I guess unless it's a paranormal film.
Yeah. Well, there's never a happy ending in paranormal films, or rarely. There's rarely a happy ending. That's why I love them so much.
That's probably why I love them too. Like I love all paranormal movies, like all of them.
No one's happy at the end.
Like, for women,
everybody's depressed. Everybody's depressed in a paranormal movie.
For me, I think
they're gonna cut themselves.
Stupid.
We're all gonna listen to MCR. Sorry.
But I think, like, to me, it's super attractive when a woman can, like, go against, like, the harshness of life. Like, she can kick her ass. Like, it could kick her ass, but then she gets back up and she's like, all right.
I can do this.
Stuff. Like, I Spit on Your Grave. Like, I relate to that movie so much.
Yeah.
I agree.
Duke. Yeah, we have a Duke.
Our dog is being an
he likes to
attention seeker
whimper
right now.
He likes to whimper.
He's a mama's boy. But, like, I relate to that movie so much because in some degree, not as harsh as she, but I've gone through the same thing. And I relate to the main character because, I've been through the same type of stuff, unfortunately. And just see somebody that has gone through the stuff that I went through, kicking ass and beating the shit out of the people that had done it to her.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fantastic. And I was like, I wish I could have done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go! And
Yeah,
it's just so amazing.
In a sense, it's kind of to the same effect as being able to relate to a superhero.
Yeah.
Whereas all of us, related to Spider-Man because we were all nerds in one way or another.
Oh my!
Or picked on, and we saw that in Spider-Man, saw that Spider-Man was a nerd, and he stood for something. He stood for something that we agreed with, and it gave us confidence. And so, being horror, coming back to the fact that we can always talk about heavy-handed issues in horror films and make it even a metaphor in some sense, without going full in depth. Antichrist.
Oh my god!
I've finally seen that movie, and
It's so good, but fuck. Sorry. Yeah.
Anyways, but I think when we see a character
you go, girl.
who has been
No, not her. No. Yeah, you go, girl. You go get help. You go to an actual therapist that you're not married to.
You go to an asylum made only for you. You're the only person there.
And you tell your grieving therapist of a husband that says, no, I can do it myself to go fuck off, and he can go to the cabin by himself.
You know what? Never mind about women in horror. Never
Podcast
mind.
over.
Elizabeth Banks was right.
Actually.
Elizabeth Banks was right.
So, I was actually, when you brought up Spider-Man, I was going to continue off of and superheroes. That tweet goes further.
Oh, really?
Her tweet goes further.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm going to add on. Why, Elizabeth? I love you so much.
Why do
you're
you gotta
such
say things
you're
like
a good
this?
scream queen. I love you in almost all your movies.
Even
and then
accepted you as the Green Ranger.
Yeah. I would have that. Yeah. I would have totally fine with that if you continued that and you even. But anyways, she decided. People decided to argue that tweet and be like, well, Captain Marvel literally made more money than all the Captain America movies put together. And she went on to, I don't remember the whole tweet, but she said, there's 57 Spider-Man movies and there's only one Captain Marvel movie. She went over, there's not. But then she's like, and also the movies like Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel are superhero movies, so they're linked more towards the male demographic. So it's that, of course they're going to be for that. And I was like, that goes against exactly her tweet before. They're not female movies. They're movies for men that just so happen to have a female lead. So, going against that also, what about Star Wars? Star Wars. Star Wars The Force Awakens came out with a female-led Jedi and the hype train for Carrie Fisher because everyone knows of how badass...
Yes.
God, she was amazing.
Badass General Leia was... I still don't agree with how the new trilogy went about her, but she was more badass when she wasn't a Jedi, because that's what made her badass, because she could handle herself like, Luke, you're a Jedi, you can use magic, I'll pull out a Desert Eagle. She had that mindset. So that's why I think she was so much better without being a Jedi. But, given The Force Awakens came out and made a domestic gross of $936 million domestically and $2 billion worldwide. That had a female-led movie with Daisy Ridley as the new Jedi.
That was so cool.
Well, and even if we went to the counter argument of that, well, then what about Harry Potter? Yeah. So, and this is the example I'll make for this.
Because
so
Harry Potter, it's more about.
So even though it focuses on Harry Potter. Two things. One, it's I know right now J.K. Rowling's kind of in hot water at the moment with some things that she's done, so I won't really touch on that.
We're going to go back to when it was simple.
But what I will say is that whenever a new movie came out in the Harry Potter franchise, everybody who saw Harry Potter come on screen cheered. Yep. Everybody who saw Ron come on screen cheered, but when everybody saw Hermione,
I flipped.
Everybody went into a roar because there's a love there.
Hermione's awesome. Hermione, Luna Lovejoy.
Well, but here's the thing.
Lovegood. Sorry.
Here's the thing. What Hermione did for so many of the fans is that she was the regular one who didn't have any magical ties. Even Harry Potter was basically a deity for how powerful they made him.
Yeah, it was either him or Neville.
Ginny Weasley too.
Yeah, Ginny Weasley was bad. She fucking her second year is telling
Umbridge.
Or not second. Was it second? No, third. Third year, is that the one where Ginny's on the Quidditch team?
Yeah, no, either way.
Anyway, third or fourth movie, when you first see her, she tells the entire Quidditch team she's still new in the school and tells all these veteran boys to shut their mouths than listen to Harry. Like they're like, we're gonna listen to her.
Third one.
Yeah, one of those. But
so
you know what I mean, like
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So like, even if a female actor isn't in the isn't written in to be the
isn't
lead,
the main,
like it can still inspire people. It can still hold a candle to what people want to see in a movie. Mm-hmm. And like fucking Emma Watson as Hermione Granger just did it. Like she was Hermione. Everybody sees her as Hermione, and even though she has done a great job separating herself from the role, still like
I just
she inspired
badass.
Well, she inspired like thousands of little girls and little boys.
Yeah, and boys, because her part in the movie too. She wasn't. Not only was she technically the least magical because she was half blood.
Yeah,
I don't know these terms. I didn't get into.
She's a muggle,
but
she's a human. That's basically what it is.
No, she's not. She's mudblood. She's half.
Oh, okay.
She's half and half.
Oh,
yeah.
No, she was born with non-magical parents, so she's a mudblood.
Yeah,
I thought she was
so she's human.
Oh. Anyways, the whole point I was trying to take it. Yeah, I don't honestly. I'm gonna be upfront. I really don't care. I'm just getting into the whole Harry Potter thing. I wasn't allowed to read them when I was a kid. They're great.
Fight.
They're awesome. I enjoy the movies. But what I was trying to get at is that Hermione, the reason why she stood out even more than Harry Potter, what the whole fucking franchise was based off of, is that she didn't have these legs up that the other boys had. She was also the brilliant one. She was smart and driven, unlike the other ones who were always like, ho ho!
And they listened to her.
And they did. So it's
just the encyclopedia of knowledge.
But and it's great. And the other thing too is like when you also think of like, for instance, Charlie's Angels came out and it just had terrible ratings also, and so like people think like, oh, that's another like thing that people think, oh, female-led movies just get terrible ratings. Wrong. Alien 1979 has a Metascore of 89, IMDb of 8.4. The Help came out in 2011. It's not a horror movie or an action movie, but is a female-driven movie.
I love The Help.
Metascore 62, IMDb 8.1.
It was also, I don't know if it was the first, but I know it was another role that put Emma Stone on the map. That's for sure. Because I can't remember if that was their first award.
Oh, yeah, Emma Stone. That was, yeah. Yeah, at first I was still thinking Emma Watson. But
yeah, because prior to that, she
had
the
first
Superbad,
Emma Stone
Easy
blonde
A.
movie.
Yeah.
And then action movie wise, Kill Bill Volume 1, 2003. Metascore 69, IMDb 8.1. Everyone loves Kill Bill. Everyone loves Uma Thurman because of it. Even indie movies still get the love. And Winter's Bone 2010, Jennifer Lawrence independent movie. Metascore 90, IMDb 7.2. And even more recently, right now, right this moment, Us, a horror movie, is sitting right now at the number 3 highest rated movie of all time on Rotten Tomatoes. And I know we bash on Rotten Tomatoes a lot, but a lot of people and entertainment industry hold that in high regard. And Us is not only a horror movie, it's a horror movie like about a female, about this women, I guess technically.
And regardless,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and regardless of how you feel about Us, whether you hate it or like it, like you still cannot argue with the actual results that it has brought.
Yeah. So like, whenever I see these arguments online and stuff like that about people arguing about like, no, we need more there's not enough female-driven, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, there is a lot.
If you sit down and think about it and you try to write all of them down, there's a lot.
There's a lot. One of the highest one of the most beloved and underrated games last year was Control. You're playing as a female telekinetic. Alien Isolation, one of the greatest rated and most beloved horror games of modern day. You're playing as Ellen Ripley's daughter. There's all these great things.
And now with Last of Us 2 up on the horizon, I mean, it's definitely focusing on a heavy influence of, I always forget her. Ellie, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Ellie being the focus of the story now.
Oh, I love that game so much. It's so beautiful.
And so whenever I see people bash like these female-led things and all this stuff and like we need more female, it's like, no, what you need, and like when, for instance, the Ghostbusters things, when they changed the genders to the female and that was the big controversy, it's like, look, we want female-led stuff. I love reading female-led comics, playing female-led games, watching female-led movies, if it's good.
I think it's
like you need what people
should have started a whole
one thing I want to point out. I know I promised when I wouldn't bring it up, but I'm going to break my promise just because it adds into this.
You always break this promise.
But it has to do with comics.
I know.
But it has to do with comics. So it's a comic I said I wouldn't talk about again, but it really fits in.
Oh no!
So,
I know which one it is.
My favorite one of my favorite franchises ever, Crossed.
Yeah. Yes, the second series.
And not even just that. There's actually multiple stories of the Crossed series have a strong female in them. Whether it is the family values story, whether it is Crossed plus 100, or even multiple of the Badlands one-off stories. You almost see a male character. I mean, not saying there isn't, but there are male characters that are heroes. But more often than not, you see them kind of being the villain of some sort or another. And if they're not the villain, then you see the female fighting another female. You know, I know these are very archaic terms I'm going with here, but this is just kind of... This is how I'm doing it without going into the full detail, because there's a lot of issues to go through.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But specifically, I want to focus on the family values one, which is one of the most demented of the entire franchises. It really is. Focuses on the daughter of this farmer who overcomes a lot of serious shit, and I'm not going to get into detail. It's just something you're going to have to read for yourself. But basically overcomes literal nightmares to keep her family alive. And you see how she adjusts the way she thinks and becomes the leader of these ragtag group of survivors in a world ravaged by an entire plague. And so, like, that alone, and I mean, what I think, just kind of coming back to it, just really upsets me, just about just how women are treated in media and how women are treated in this, is that we still have to, I feel like, and this is coming from a guy, I feel like we still approach it with certain, like, borders that we have to appreciate. Like, I feel that whether it's the discussion of a woman's body and how it is shown, or a woman's right to anything, really, there's always this border that we have to approach it with. And I think we've put ourselves in that place in society where I feel like if we were more open to women being the lead in just even films alone, being more accepting to that, being open to that, being open to the fact that women aren't just things that make food and take care of our kids, that we'd be at a different point in society right about now, where we could actually know that this is the norm, know that we could actually talk about issues amongst both sexes without worry of upsetting someone. And honestly, it could start from somewhere as something as just movies.
And so my last tagline also is just going on, like, you know, the perception of women in these movies too. Like, for me, I noticed, like, all the movies and the games that I talked about. I mean, I know I didn't talk about a whole lot of games. The other, like, thing is the perception of those females in those movies. They're not the super sexy, highly sexualized females. Like, in all these movies, they're not wearing bikini armor. They're not wearing bikini this. They're not showing tits. They're not showing legs. Like, in all these, in Alien, Kill Bill, Friday the 13th, all of those, they're all fully clothed women, and what makes these women sexy, like Sigourney Weaver and Jamie Lee Curtis, what made them attractive wasn't because they're showing their bodies. They were showing their attitudes. They were showing how they can take them. Their wits, their survivability, and that's what and so that's what I want to see more out of movies and games, and that's what always draws me to them. And so, like, the other thing that I want everyone to realize is when a movie tanks because it's an all-female-led cast or anything, and that's not why. You need to understand, like, don't use that as a scapegoat. Like, for instance, the reboot of the Ghostbusters. Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, there was a lot of backlash because they were females, and it's stupid, but, like, instead of it, like, if when the movie came out, like, okay, for instance, just compare this movie to Captain Marvel. There was a lot of backlash from Captain Marvel because it was a female-led driven movie also. And it made millions while the Ghostbusters movie didn't. And it wasn't because of all the backlash that came out beforehand or the fact that they were women. What happened is because the new Ghostbusters movie was a bad movie. Instead of owning it and making its own movie in its own self, it catered too much to the past, and that's what came out in the reviews, and that's what everyone said about it and why it tanked. It's like, when it comes down to it, women aren't the problem. No. Women are never the problem. It's your movies are terrible, your games are terrible, and your books are terrible. That's why they fail, not because you have a strong woman or anything like that. And we want those.
And if we're going to address the subject... Yeah, I agree. And if we're going to address the subject of, well, it's only because of a woman's body... I always love taking it back to Elvira. So Elvira isn't...
If we want to use sexualization as to improve yourself.
Well, like, so,
Jeez.
like, the shallow, lazy argument for why she's great is because of her body. But really, it's because of what Cassandra Peterson brings to the role of the character as Elvira. The confidence of, she knows what her body looks like, but she's not going to cover it up in order to appease one person and also to encourage another person. She's going to dress the way she is and be who she is because that's who she is and that's what she's comfortable with. And so, like, even that, like, was ahead of its time with what it's touching.
And that's why Jennifer's body's good.
No, I know. I just have issues with I just have issues with Megan Fox's acting and just everything overall.
I know. I just wanted to throw that.
Sam, we're going to fight the Transformers, Sam. Come on, Sam.
Man.
Have you seen my thumb dumbs?
Yeah.
Well, and then, like, to bring it back to Transformers, who's that that new lead?
The new
that
chick? I don't know.
Whitney something. She was amazing in that one. Like, she was smart.
Are you talking about in Bumblebee or
No.
Oh, the model that replaced Megan Fox in the third Transformers.
Oh my god, I forgot.
She was smart. Like, she didn't just,
she was a terrible actress.
She was, but her character was really
white.
smart.
How do you stay white after falling through a skyscraper?
Whoa, we're bringing race into this.
No, her dress. How does her clothes stay perfectly bleached white like a fucking eggshell when you just fell through an entire skyscraper? That's all.
Because she's a beautiful person.
Because it's Michael Bay.
It's definitely because it's Michael Bay. Rosie Huntington Wheatley is
she was
her name.
so, like, it was complete different from Megan Fox.
And also horror, and then coming back to horror wise, also just of how these strong female leads can like last, like Laurie Strode. Halloween 2018 came out to a 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it did great in the box office. Like, and I went to see it to see Laurie Strode. You know, see how Laurie Strode's like gonna overcome Michael Myers again. Like, it's great. And
it's so awesome.
And so I think, like, when it comes down to it, I think the talk doesn't need to be, why isn't there more female-led movies and blah, blah, blah. I think it needs to be more, how come we're not, why aren't we shining more light on these other great movies? Or these underground movies, like Winter's Bone was a great Jennifer Lawrence movie that, I know. But no one really talks about it. And so the only time I ever hear anything about female-led movies is only if it breaks a record like Star Wars, or there's just controversy because someone decides to be stupid and say something wrong about it, like Elizabeth Banks's tweet or the director of the Ghostbusters tweet.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah.
You know, and I think, like, as well, you know, casting problems too, and like you said, remaking our favorite movies growing up. Like, it's already been done. Like, create some new content for us.
Yeah, and like the new Tomb Raider games are fantastic, and she's not super sexualized. Like, Lara Croft is awesome, and even if those games didn't come out, everyone would still be talking about Lara Croft, and not just because of her tits. It was because she was badass. She was a badass adventurer, and if it wasn't for Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, we wouldn't have Uncharted and Nathan Drake. No. So it's like we wouldn't have those things. So I just think I just think it's great. We should just shine more light on these strong females. And for the reasons why they're the strong females. Like, Laurie Strode is strong because she's survivalist. Or Nancy was strong because she figured out how to get a demon from the dream world into real life to destroy him.
Yeah.
You know? So... Well, that's just kind of where I'm at.
Well, and even at that, still, like, just touch on, like, even just behind the scenes, like, because we even posted this on our Instagram with Gigi Saul Guerrero even being said to direct an Eli Roth produced horror called 1031, and it's Eli Roth. Like, everybody knows who Eli Roth. If you're a horror fan, you know who Eli Roth is. Yeah. And the fact that you know, they see Gigi Saul Guerrero and they're just like, you're going to be directing this thing, like, it shows that just in horror alone, there's a big, huge want and appreciation for female-led anything. And that appreciation definitely is spread and is becoming more of a renaissance now in traditional media. Does it still have a way to go? Yes, but it's definitely not to the extent of what Elizabeth Banks is saying it out to be. Yeah. Which is just like, there is no... Men don't want to see female-led horror, which it's more so that we just don't want to see a female-led movie if the movie's just shitty. Yeah, just like I don't want to see a male-led movie if it's shitty. Exactly. Yeah, like Like there's plenty of like movies with Leonardo DiCaprio in that I haven't seen because they weren't great movies.
Yeah, like Bloodstone.
Yeah, like you mean Blood Diamond?
Exactly.
I've seen that. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's actually one of his better ones.
I'm sure it is, but
The
shows
Great
how much
Gatsby.
it. But it shows how much. Yeah, Great Gatsby's a whole nother demon that's just amazing. Okay,
But
It's
hold
an amazing
on.
book
But
and
that's
an
the
amazing
thing,
movie.
though. It's just like Blood Diamond alone,
Agree.
like had a lot of great things behind it. Definitely got a lot of praise, but
Yeah.
we don't even want to see it. So that alone goes against your argument.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's I don't know. Like, you know.
Anyways,
So, Lauren, what are your final thoughts on all of this?
Well, my final thoughts is like I completely disagree with Elizabeth Banks. I think that was a stupid ass comment.
and yes, we know this is an old tweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is an old tweet.
Look, this happened when we were on our break, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And we want to talk about it now.
and it's a good subject for women in horror. So
Yeah.
like at this point, you're like 54 minutes and you've had to accept it by now.
Yeah, like I'm not a person who's really into horror. Like I'm into horror, but I'm not into horror like you two are. Like
You're getting there.
I'm getting there
You can get off now.
slowly. Don't make me go back into the basement. It's cold. Please.
I told you about that.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. So, but like,
Just want to go home. No bucket of fish heads for you.
but I really shut up, Matt. I like seeing women in horror who have, overcame a lot of stuff, and it's, like I completely disagree with Elizabeth Banks. I think she stuck her foot in her mouth this time. Like,
Yeah, just Elizabeth, you had to take the L.
Yeah.
Take the L.
just take it. You did a horrible job. It's fine.
She did afterwards, but
Actually, no, what's funny is I heard the Charlie's Angels movie actually isn't terrible. Like, it's decent, but
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think anyone was really striving for a new Charlie's Angels movie.
No,
No,
exactly.
absolutely not.
That's the other reason why no one wanted to see your movie. No one's wanting a Charlie's Angels movie.
No, we want something different, something fresh that hasn't been done before.
Well,
You know,
who's it for? Like, the fans of Charlie's Angels are going to really strive to go out to see it. Like, the longtime fans.
Yeah,
But then-
because we have our own angels that we like.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, even the original show, the 70s
The original
show.
show
yeah.
was amazing.
Like-
I loved it.
Like, they're not going to go to the theater
I know.
on opening night.
I know,
No.
it's like, see, you have these three great...
For three actresses, they don't
that
even know.
Two of which I'm pretty certain were already established action
think
ones,
so,
and then another
actually.
one that was maybe, Kristen Stewart, who's
Kristen
getting her
Stewart.
foot into the whole action.
She
I will
But
get the other
she
one's
has
name.
really
But-
come out of her shell.
Oh, I'm sure
and
she
I
has.
Really
but I'm just
love
saying,
it.
you have these three
Yeah, 'cause
talented
she just came
actresses.
out.
Figuratively and literally.
But you have these three great actresses that could probably do, and you want to make a great action movie, and you have a pretty decent director in Elizabeth Banks. Why not just make your own fucking female-led, goddamn fucking
Call
spy
it something
movie?
else.
Naomi
Yeah,
Scott. It was Naomi Scott.
But why not make your own fucking female spy movie? Like, I know there was a couple that came out that flopped, like that one, I don't know, this one that came out with this new actress, but it came out after Atomic Blonde, which Atomic Blonde is a fucking amazing film. But, like, Atomic Blonde, which, if you're a fan of Charlize Theron and you haven't seen this movie,
Oh, she's beautiful.
what are you doing with your life? It is an amazing
oh my God.
movie.
And also, if we're going to talk about Charlize Theron, she also was amazing, and technically, what we could argue is also a horror film, a true story, but a horror film as in Monster.
Monster?
Like,
yeah.
one of
I liked her in Snow
a breakout
White.
performance for her because she definitely was like, I'm known for my looks. Let me portray this serial killer, this murderer, and like they totally just like did everything they could.
Couldn't
to
even
just,
recognize her.
yeah, like and so like
beautiful.
that was just so cool. Like
That Mad Max,
Mad
Fury
Max.
Road.
Yeah.
Everyone was just saying, "Fuck Max, I want more Furiosa." Like,
She was really good in Snow White, like the first one with Kristen
so
Stewart.
my favorite thing. Okay, no
She was a
no
good
offense to
villain.
Kristen Stewart, but my entire thing was like, how can you make a Snow White movie when the Queen is more
She's
attractive
so
than Snow
I know.
White?
She was so hot.
it's bad casting.
Yeah, they should have flip flop.
Yeah, it should have been.
I don't even care that
flip-flopped.
Charlize Theron is a little older than Kristen Stewart. I still would have rather
Oh, like
seen
when
her.
she comes
She
out
looks
the
young
bath.
enough.
Oh.
But anyways, yeah, it's just
Um,
like it's just because Elizabeth Banks, I do like her as a director. I think she has directed some great movies, and she had three great actresses. Why instead of rehashing these things, like rehashing the Ghostbusters movie
Oh, God.
with all females and saying, "Oh, let's see, because it's all females." It's like, or how about you just make a similar synopsis, like, oh, we're going to make these 3 female spies and have a whole spy movie based around them instead of just saying, it's Charlie's Angels. It's
Call it something else.
Do something else. Yeah.
That being said, please feel free to follow us on Facebook, Punk Rock Horror Podcast.
On Instagram, Punk Rock Horror Podcast, hashtag PRHP Podcast.
You can follow us also on Twitter at official PRHP or our Instagram, or my Instagram, The Undead Matt. We are on Patreon. If you want to consider supporting us, please go over to patreon.com/punkrockhorrorpodcast, and you can help us over there, get some amazing rewards for some amazing patronage. And with that being said, thank you again to Big Boot Studio, our guy who takes care of all of our music for us, Jonah, our video producer, Amaya and Haley, our interns, and everyone on the Punk Rock Horror Podcast crew. And thank you again to all you amazing patrons that support us, and all you listeners, ghouls, gals, creeps, and mutants alike. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and letting us talk about horror with you this time.
And thanks for being a special guest, Lauren.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope I did a good job.
You did great.
Oh, thanks, babe.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.